Hey guys, welcome to another Kickstarter review. So today's film that I'm going to be reviewing is Barbie. This is going to be a full spoiler one, so I'm not going to be doing non-spoilers and spoilers with this. I'm just going to do a full spoiler breakdown of my thoughts of this film. My quick thoughts before I delve into the story and the characters and whatnot. Overall, I liked the film. I enjoyed it. I'd say it was actually a little bit better than what I had expected going in. Kind of had low expectations, not very low, but sort of somewhere in the middle. But I actually thought it was a little bit better than what I expected it to be. Obviously been a lot of talk about this film, both leading up to it and since its release, which has been very divisive. We've seen a lot of comments on all sides as to what it is. People, one commenting on its quality, people saying it's good, people saying it's bad, great, terrible, all of that. People saying it's woke, people saying it's not woke. Everything all across the board. And my overall thoughts is that I think it's kind of all of the above. I think it's good, bad, woke, not woke, all at the same time. I think it contains elements of all of these aspects, and I'm going to go into those today and break it down for you. Starting off with the story. So the basic premise here is that, Barbie is, she's stereotypical Barbie. She's kind of not the leader, but the main figure, I guess, in Barbie land, where it's kind of a utopia where all the women are in charge. They do all the jobs that men normally do and everything else. They control everything and everything runs perfectly. And you have the Kens who are just kind of there. They don't do anything. They're just basically there to just, follow the Barbies around and do nothing else. And about 20 minutes in, Barbie, kind of has a crisis where she kind of isn't behaving as normal. She's not interacting with her environment as normally and as perfectly as usual, and is determined that she has to go to the real world to find basically her owner who owns her doll and just figure out what's going on so that she can, return things back to normal. And so Barbie, played obviously by Margot Robbie, travels to the real world, and Ken tags along, played by Ryan Gosling, and they basically kind of discover that the real world is very different to Barbie land. Barbie is, she realizes that it's not this feminist utopia. In fact, women are kind of treated like second-class citizens. And then on the flip side, Ken discovers, he just basically discovers the patriarchy and thinks this is the most incredible thing he's ever heard of in his life. And he has what's this idea that men have rights and abilities and contribute to society. And so he, wants to take that back to Barbie land and teach it there. And meanwhile, Barbie is kind of reckoning with what she's now discovered about being kind of worthless in this world when she was, hailed in Barbie land. And this journey that Barbie goes on is actually kind of deep and kind of even dark in some places, more so than I was ever expecting of a Barbie film. I was kind of thinking that a lot of the film would be a lot more like the first 20 minutes, which is kind of just all happy, utopia type environment, just dumb fun. But it really does take the story to some dark places, particularly with her character. I actually kind of appreciated that it wasn't just a dumb fun film the whole way throughout, and it actually had something to tell. Now, whether I agree with the points that they're trying to make in the film, not really. Not some of them maybe, but not all of them for sure. But at least it was trying to tell a kind of a three-dimensional story and make Barbie into a actually three-dimensional character, not just this pretty face essentially. And same even with Ken. They present Ken in the beginning as being basically just a pretty face, but then they actually try flesh him out by exposing him to the idea of the patriarchy and how that would affect men who had basically had no power before. And that obviously causes the whole second act of the film, which is basically the Kens introducing the patriarchy and taking over Barbie land, and then Barbie and the other Barbies have to take it back from them. So it's kind of like a dumb fun concept overall, but it does kind of wrap itself in these kind of thought-provoking ideas, not just having dumb jokes throughout the whole film. It actually takes us to places that we weren't expecting. This film basically ends where the Barbies, take back control of Barbie land by essentially pitting all the Kens against each other, and they kind of defeat themselves so that the Barbies can take control back. And yeah, look, it just pretty much things go back to where they were at the very beginning of the film. And this is where I kind of have an issue with the film, is that the end resolution really had an opportunity to kind of bring a lot of people together and kind of bridge this gap that the film starts with, in that, there's a completely different power dynamic. The females are obviously far superior to the males in Barbie land, but there's an opportunity at the end where they can kind of have an even ground, but they completely dismiss that in the film. Instead, basically just can relegate the Kens back to where they were. They give them some little power here and there, they hint at that, but mainly just relegate them to being just dumb Kens who shouldn't really talk or have opinions ever. That's kind of sad, because I feel like there was an opportunity to really, you know, bring them together and kind of deliver the message that feminists claim to want, which is equality, you know, but it doesn't really achieve that at the end. It kind of just continues the idea that the men are second-class citizens. Speak a bit about the characters. So obviously Barbie, the main character, played by Margot Robbie, is fantastic. I mean, just look at her. She's born to play Barbie. She's perfect in the role. She brings a lot of depth to it as well. She obviously brings the facade, the looks, the appearance, everything, but she also brings the depth and the emotion, and that's great. That's what I think she was perfect casting for this role. And then there's Ken, played by Ryan Gosling, the main Ken, and to me, he steals the film. Like, and that's kind of the funny part, is that it's named Barbie and it's really about female empowerment, but there's a male character that kind of steals the whole film. He is absolutely hilarious throughout. Like, I mean, most of the jokes that land in this film come from Ken. He's the real source of comedic, like the main source of humor in this film. And yeah, look, everything he does is just great, and he helps keep the film like kind of entertaining at times when it does drag a little bit. My favorite scene in this film, I died laughing at the scene. It's basically where Ken is singing to Barbie on the beach, and he's singing the song Push by Matchbox 20, essentially singing to her that he wants to push her around and take her for granted. And it's a hilarious scene, because just the framing of it is that it starts with just Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie's Ken and Barbie on the beach. He's singing to her, and then as the chorus comes in, it zooms out, and then you see all the Kens singing to all the Barbies the same song in unison. I was dying of laughter, just because this is his interpretation of what the patriarchy is, and I was just dying of laughter. I thought that was great, and yeah, it was probably my favorite scene in the whole film. To speak about the greater cast, I think everyone does a very decent job all around. Like, you can see the level of like enthusiasm and enjoyment that a lot of these actors are getting out of playing this kind of dumb, fun roles and these stereotypical roles. So yeah, it definitely shows through in their performances. It's a lot of fun to see. I guess my main disappointment is actually Will Ferrell's character, who plays the CEO of Mattel, the toy brand that owns Barbie. And yeah, any of the scenes I felt he was in with all the board members, I felt they were just kind of really dumb, and they kind of dragged a bit too much when they were showing them, and the jokes just weren't landing for me. They were just a bit too bland, and just not, I didn't feel they were really in keeping with the type of humor that the film was presenting throughout, and just didn't work for me overall, Will Ferrell and those board members. So yeah, look, I think there's a lot to say about this film, and there's going to be a lot said about this film going forward. I ultimately am in the camp that if this film came out 15, 20 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. I will talk about this in more detail when I do my Was It Woke video, so make sure to come back for that one. I just think that there is definitely wokeness in this film. There is a lot of it, but I also think that it is people who are wearing their 2023 lenses, who are ultra sensitive to this stuff right now, which I can understand. They're maybe failing to see the more fun side of this film, and the kind of more thought-provoking side of it as well, as just like a kind of strange experiment as to like what would happen if women controlled society and men were second-class citizens. It's just, I think if that kind of idea in isolation, if that came out in the mid-thousands or the 90s, whatever, no one would have a problem with it. I think they would just see it as just dumb fun. And I think it's kind of a shame that maybe people are overlooking some of the more fun or lighthearted aspects of the film and just seeing only just ill-intended like agenda or feminist messaging and all that, which it has. It definitely has it, but I think there's also more to it. I think it is possible for films to be woke, but also be good and even fun. And I think that's the case here. I think it's all of those things. So yeah, as I said, I will go into further detail when I do my Was It Woke video. Can't wait to do that one. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts. When I came out of the film in my Out of the Theater review, I gave it a 7 out of 10, and I think I'm kind of sticking with that. I really just see like there's plenty to like about this film, but there's also some parts to dislike, clearly. And yeah, 7 out of 10. That's my overall thoughts. Won't go on any more than that. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye.